So I was called to diagnose this vehicle. This Mini Cooper. We'll scan it first. I'm having communication issue. That's what they told me, that they are having communication issue and the vehicle is not starting. So they called me to come and diagnose it. And you can see we were not able to communicate with the DME. We're not able to communicate with the DME. So what I'll do now is I'll scan the whole vehicle and see the reports. Then I'll check. Normally when you are not able to communicate with any control unit, so this is the only unit 16 control unit, so the most fault is the DME, no communication with the DME. So all of them are reporting, most of them are reporting no communication with the DME. So now what I'll do is I'll check power and grounds on the DME, then I'll check the ignition also on the DME. So for my wiring diagram, you can see from my wiring diagram, and if you need wiring diagram you can also contact me. For my wiring diagram, when you see pin 1 is ignition, so all of them are on this socket and the CAN lines are on this socket. So what I'll do is I'll test the CAN line first for any communication issue, then I'll test, because normally I know this vehicle you should have a constant power on it, so I have to test that one also. But for now I'll be testing the CAN line, which is these 2 pins, which is the yellow and brown and yellow and black. So I'll test them here. I'll plug it in. But when I came first, so you can see the CAN line, there's communication on it, and there is CAN high and there's communication. So now what I'll do is I'll test for power and ground. So let me connect my test light too, and from this wiring diagram you can see that I'm having ground on this point. So pins 3 and 4 is the ground. So with my test lights you can see the grounds are okay. My test light turns on. So now it's left to me to test the power, and pin 1 is the power from the ignition. So what I'll do is I'll turn the ignition on, then I'll test that one if it's working. So now the ignition is on, so I'll test pin 1 to see if I'll get it. So let me swap my test lights. So I'll test it and you can see it is on. So now when I come back to my wiring diagram again, on my power source is on pin 6 and 18. Pin 6 and 18. If you need any wiring diagram, or you are a shop that you want a wiring diagram to use, you can contact me so that we strike a deal. So pin 6 and 18. So that means, let me check. Pin 6 is written on the pin, so this is pin 6. Let me test if I'll find any power on it. And no power. And pin 18, no power. So what I'll do now is I have to trace why I'm not having power on those 2 lines. So let me trace with them with my wiring diagram. This one I'll move to pin 8 and pin 2. So let me go to the next page. The next page, which is pin 2, goes to this fuse. Pin 2 goes to fuse F03, and fuse F03 is turned on by the DME relay. So I have to check that one also and check. So the DME relay has a power which is always on. So whenever you open or you activate the control board, then it will set it on. So what I'll do now is, that means all these fuses are not working because the DME relay is not working. So I'll go and check the DME relay first and see if the ground signal is being sent to it. Then I'll know what to do from there. So now what I'll do is, after checking the wiring diagram, you can see this 7.5 amps fuse, which is on 6. Let me go here and check 6. 6 moves to pin 16. So I'll check pin 16, which is terminal 30, which is supposed to be always on, so I'm supposed to get power on it constantly. So I'll check that one also and see the voltage that I'll get on it. So we used DME from the customer, which has already been programmed. I went home to test it and everything was okay. So I came to check the DME pins and see why the vehicle wasn't communicating. But with this one, the pin 1 and the pin 5, which is constant power, but before you can get that power, you have to connect the DME before you get power on the pin 5. And the pin 1, the moment you turn on the ignition, the power comes on. So when you turn on the ignition, the power comes on. By pin 5, you have to connect the DME before the power will come on. That's why the power is not coming on. So with that one, I have to connect the DME so that the DME will be able to activate the DME relay anytime that I turn on the ignition. So I'll plug back every socket, then I've checked everything and everything is working. But for the original one, my grounds are okay, which tells me that I'm good to go. But for the pin 5, the DME has to be connected before I'll get power on it. So what I'll do is I'll connect everything back so that I can get the power back. And on pin 19 too, I'm supposed to get power. But that one, unless the DME is connected, but when I checked the power, I wasn't getting a constant power. The voltage that was reading was very low, and tried to bring it down to see if it's a signal line, but it was very low. So what I'll do is, with this one, I'll connect the circuit back so that I can be able to continue the test and scan the vehicle and see if I'll be able to communicate with this used DME. So the customer is having 2 DME already and 1 is dead. So now, after checking everything, now I'm able to communicate with the DM. So you can see I'm able to communicate with the DM, and you can see now I'm having power on this line and I'm able to communicate with the DEM as well. So I don't know if it is pin fitment that's causing the problem. So now what I'll do is I'll go back and rescan the DEM again, do auto scan and see if I'll be able to scan the DEM, and I'm able to scan it. So I'll erase all the fault code and try to start the vehicle. Then I'll call it a fix. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more videos. So with that pin 5, when you connect the control unit activates that pin 5. So let me go in and see protection against temperature, speed limit, throttle, actuator, throttle. Okay, so now I'll erase all the fault code from the DEM, and now I'm able to communicate with it. So after doing the erasing, I'll try and start the vehicle if it will start, because this DEM is a different DEM, but it has already been programmed to the vehicle already. So I'll try it and see if it will start. And if it starts, that means it was the ODM that was having an issue. So I'll try it and see if it will start. Let me take off my control unit. Let me take off my things from the engine before they will fall into the engine. Then I'll come back again to check the system. Yeah. So So now the vehicle is running, and we call it a fix. Yeah, it's having throttle issue. So with the throttle issue, I'll speak to them to handle. So thank God, now we're able to communicate with it, and the vehicle is starting. So I'll see what I can do about it and know what to do. Then I'll call it a fix. So the acceleration will not be working. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel for more videos.